What's up, my brothers and my sisters from another mister? So today we're going to do a comic book review of TMNT Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, The Lost Years, issues number 1 through 5, the entire story arc, the prequel to the Last Ronin series. This is the saga of Michelangelo, the road to vengeance, a tale of revenge. Michelangelo's revenge story. I know that all sums it up. Brought to you by Rated Comics. Now before we get into the content, link in description if you wish to purchase this comic book and or some of our other Rated Comics exclusives to add to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. Also, timestamps will be in description if you wish to go from issue to issue. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel if you're liking the content we're throwing up so far and if you'd like to see more. With all that being said, let's get into the content. Now before we get into the content, it's worth mentioning that you probably should read The Last Ronin first before diving into this prequel. It's not so much that this issue cannot be read in its own right, but it kind of spoils some things before you get into it. And I'll put the card at the end of this video and link in description if you wish to check out The Last Ronin issues number 1 through 5. But with all that being said, let's get into the content. We begin this issue with Michelangelo taking a beating from a few street thugs, and they possess half the skills that Michelangelo does. And this goes to show you that he's alone and a bit lost in his journey. Smash cut to now where we meet Casey Marie Jones, who's trying to train the 4 kiddo turtles to be ninjas. This is present time. Some are getting the hang of it, but others just want to eat or are uninterested in learning how to fight. Casey Jones is young and doing her best, and April O'Neil comes in the room and explains that to her. And April O'Neil tells her, Casey, I know you're trying so hard to follow Michelangelo's footsteps, and I guarantee you wherever he is now, he is very proud of you, hinting that this takes place after Michelangelo's death. But we both know what his dying wish was, and it wasn't about fighting. It's about knowing peace, except that the fighting didn't stop, which is all the more reason we should be taking Mikey's advice. I'm not gonna lie, Casey, says April. We still got problems. Even with the Foot Clan gone, Donatello once told me that nature abhors a vacuum. And that's proving true with the new power struggle in the city. But Donnie also taught me the scientific method. Define a problem, gather info, postulate a solution, test, look for success, and admit failures. Start over if necessary. There were plenty of times when I didn't think I had what it takes to be a good mother, but then I remember what Donnie showed me and I always found a way to make it work, even when New York was way worse than what it is now. You've got to take baby steps at the start, girl, especially with these babies. And Casey's like, yeah, I guess so. She's getting encouraged a little bit. And April tells her, I bet Master Splinter old journal says something about failure, huh? Yeah, it says defeat's only real if you let it be real. Defeat is not defeat unless you accept it as reality in your own mind. And that's a Bruce Lee quote. And then we go into this monologue with Michelangelo getting beat by these chumps. 3 years since he's felt anything, and now pain, flooding his senses and his entire being. Mind and body and soul, as these people just continue to lay haymakers on Michelangelo. The pain reminds him that he came here to die, and he welcomed it because the long path that led him to this moment is piled high with the murdered bodies of his family. And he recounts those murders of Raphael, he recounts the murder of Leonardo, he recounts the murder of Donatello, Master Splinter, and his brothers, and his father, and his friends too. Casey Jones as well. This is a recap of The Last Ronin, and it's just a reminder that Michelangelo's going through some things, and this is his journey on how he got motivated to move forward. April O'Neil, Casey Jones, the Fugitoid, all victims of an ancient family feud, Oroku versus Amatu, all dead except for him. So with nothing left to live for, he just started walking up this cold and unforgiving mountain to meet his own end. And he thought he found what he was looking for, a place to stop, to let go, to lie down, and to die. He was wrong. Freezing temperatures, no water, and no food for who knows how long, and still his mutant body wouldn't let his spirit go. Neither would the voice that was suddenly whispering in his head, this is not your destiny, as he looks into Master Splinter's journal. When spring finally arrived, he figured that he wasn't gonna die, and he better get busy on surviving. and it seemed like the universe agreed with them. And for 3 years, he meditated religiously, studied Master Splinter's journal, seeking balance in its words and pictures. And after a time, he felt like merely just surviving had become an actual living thing, and that he hoped it might end to find the final piece he was hoping to look for. But as unexpectedly as it has come, time has passed, and these people call him a monster, that green freak. What's he doing here? Who cares? The boss says no survivors. Kill it. They charge at Michelangelo like dogs, throwing rocks at him, hitting him, and unlike his attackers, he was in no hurry to stop him. Instead, he welcomed the pain. He welcomed the impending death to come, and he imagined what his family would say if they were here. Donnie would say something about the irony of these pharaoh beasts calling me a monster. Leonardo would criticize their sloppiness of their attack, and Raphael would probably just say something tough like, "That's all you got, punks?" And Master Splinter, what would Master Splinter say? "Get up, foolish child." And he has a flashback of what Master Splinter would say. Back when they were going to war with the Foot Clan, he sees Master Splinter on top of all these Foot Clan bodies. Master Splinter tells him, "I said get up. Your brothers have nearly broken through the last line of the Foot Clan defense. Orokusaki's head and vengeance will soon belong to the Hamato clan. This is what I trained you for," says Master Splinter. "For all your life, this is a moment. Get up and rejoin the fight, Michelangelo." "I can't, father." "Hear me, boy. This is not your destiny, and I will not leave you here to meet a coward's end." Coward? He's no coward. Back to present day. This is not his destiny. And these guys like, "Man, why won't this thing just die? I told you it was a monster." "Well, I got something to put this monster out of its misery. Let's make turtle soup out of it." And as he goes in to land the final blow with his axe, Michelangelo catches it mid-strike, and it's time to fight. And he rages. "Cowards? Killing just to kill? No respect for life, no honor, and no mercy," says Michelangelo. He goes at him, and I gotta admire this pose real quick. And while we admire this pose, if you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Like the video and subscribe to this channel. Here at Rated Comics, we do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content with the occasional comic book giveaway. And now it's years of rage, loneliness, grief, guilt, and he lets it all out because they never had a chance. And this is a really cool panel right here. And then it's done. The fatigue sets in after he lays the whooping on them from the battle, from his life. Well, his life that he says? This is not your destiny, it says in the journal. His life was set for him for birth, respect, honor, redemption, family. Master Splinter was right as he starts packing his things. This mountain sanctuary, its false promises of peace and resolution was never his destiny. No more than fooling himself that he could quit his family's long war against the Foot Clan ever was. Redemption for his family on the battlefield, that's his destiny to the very end. And he gets motivation as he walks up the hills. He sees that his town is on fire and he wonders what the heck is going on. He passed this village when he first arrived at the mountain 3 years ago. Poor farmers and shepherds and their families, peaceful hard workers doing what they had to do to survive. The village almost seemed ancient when he first saw it, like a place lost to time, a sacred place. Who would do something like this, says Michelangelo. There it is. That's the monster attacked us in the hills. Attacked you, says Michelangelo. Now he is pissed. Just like on the mountain, his rage overtakes him. And he strikes without thinking. But this time, something's different. Yeah, he's really mad, but this time, there's a calmness to his fury. Fists, blades, bullets, all going clearly in slow motion. And he's seen that they all wear the same tattoo. And as he knocks them out one by one, all these dead villagers, all these cowards, he tells them, the guy who calls him out says, "Please, don't hurt me." And Michelangelo's like, "There, now I attacked you," while he impales him. A voice off panel says, "You should go now, warrior," before he returns. "Whoa, whoa, sir, I got you," says Michelangelo as he aids him, sits him down, and this guy tells him, "Go now, save yourself. He will return." "Who will return?" says Michelangelo. "The death worm. He is all things evil, thief, murderer, feared by all police, military. All, not all. Not by me, says Michelangelo. After what he did to your village, there's no way. No, says this guy. This village is lost. Nothing left to fight for. Leave now while you can. You will not survive if you dare face Deathworm's army alone. And Michelangelo goes back to his flashback, and Master Splinter is like, Michelangelo, I can't do this anymore, says Michelangelo. And Master Splinter has to have a father to son moment. My son, you are not doing this alone. We are your brothers. You, me, we fight this war together, always. And his brothers are like, so what's it gonna be, Chucklehead? You just gonna sit there like crying like a baby? What you gonna do with the old man? What's he telling you to do? And get moving, says the Turtles, now that they're in the spirit. And that is the end of this issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, The Lost Years, issue number 1. I mean, most of this issue is about Michelangelo thinking back to the time that he was cowardly and learning to live with that, while also finding a new gear to motivate him to continue and not giving up. I mean, for those that are looking into this issue thinking it's all about the violence and it's gonna get down with the action, not quite yet, but I'm looking forward to when it finally gets there. Begin this issue in Town 38. It's a unified Korean republic. That was back then. He confronted an enemy. That was Michelangelo getting thrown out the window in this all-out brawl at a bar. But this is a story so far before we continue on with it. Having lost his father and brothers in the war with the Foot Clan, a defeated Michelangelo isolated himself away in the mountains of Japan. But the grieving hero's solace was interrupted when a warlord known as Deathworm wrought chaos in a quiet countryside, forcing the ninja to flee. But trouble seems to have found him again. Now, Casey Marie Jones struggled with the challenges of raising a new generation of turtles, Yi, Odin, Moja, and Uno, as successors to the Hamato's brothers' ninja heritage. And that's where we go into the now, where we see Odin has dropped a glass of water, and all of his other turtles, Yi, Moja, Uno, are like, no, we're not helping you clean up. That's your own mess. You dropped it again? I can't believe you did that. These turtles are not unified and brought together like the old Ninja Turtles were. And Casey Marie Jones is watching as April Wilterding comes up from behind her like, hey, what are you doing? I'm watching the kids clean the dojo. Odin broke the glass, and even April's like, he broke it again? Yeah, he broke it again. So as they're still struggling to help him, and they're not going to help Odin clean that glass, and Odin gets pissed and frustrated about it, Casey Marie Jones goes up in there and gets the Ninja Turtles together. The Ninja Turtles are the future and wants to tell them a story. So she gets them all together, tells them a story. Listen up, this is what Grammy April told me once about my dad and the Ninja Turtles. Back then, Master Splinter had sent them all on an important mission to stop the Foot Clan from stealing some stuff that didn't belong to them. Like always, Leonardo was in charge, and just when he was going to give the order to grab the bad guys, my dad saw something else happening. An elderly lady was about to get mugged by the Foot Clan, and he really got mad and he wanted to help her out. Now at first, the Turtles didn't want to go with my dad because they were supposed to be stopping the Foot Clan like Master Splinter said. But my dad didn't listen. He went and helped the old lady anyway. And even though the Turtles knew this would mess up the mission, they helped her dad stop the other mean guys and save the poor old lady. Why did they do that? Because it was the right thing to do. The moral of the story is this as she relays it to the Turtles. I think about that story and the time I helped Grammy stop the city from flooding when I really wanted to do was help Sensei fight the Foot. It's just sometimes we get so caught up in what we think we're supposed to do or what we want to be doing that we ignore what we should be doing. And that's a reference to the TMNT Last Ronin storyline, which we did cover on this channel. I'll put the playlist in the description if you wish to catch up on that. And what we should be doing is helping out one of our own teammates when they're in trouble. And then Yi is like, wow, Grandpa Casey and the Turtles are so cool. Don't you miss them? Oh, I miss them so much, says April. But it's just like they're still here because they are the future. And we see Master Splinter's journal talks about Master Yip, talks about purpose. Purpose seeks, purpose chooses, always Master Yip. And then we go into them with Michelangelo going out in this all-out brawl back in Korea. And he's like, yo, man, this is not good. And as bad as his Korean is, it's not too hard to figure out what's going on between all these people as he's doing all this fighting in public. And his assumption is it's kill the monster. And he totally exposed himself, and he only got himself to blame. Weeks of hiding in plain sight in this dome without any issues. Now he blew his cover in a petty barroom brawl. Stupid Mike, real stupid. And he just calls himself that, but guess what? He has to fight this guy for a reason. But before we go into that, we go into a further flashback of how we got here. It's been nearly 3 years since the dying old man in that burning village in Hokkaido told him to run away from the psychopath called Deathworm and his army of thugs. 3 years since the ghost of his brother suddenly showed up and showed out of nowhere, telling him the same thing. Hey, Chucklehead, you gonna sit there, you gonna do something, says Raphael. And Michael's like, yeah, I know. Maybe he just took too many knocks in the skull or too many hits in the head. That's why he's thinking he's crazy. Or whatever it is, insanity or a concussion. I wasn't stupid, says Michelangelo. I wasn't stupid enough to believe I was in any shape to take on another fight right then, right now. So with no real plan other than getting the hell out of Dodge, Michelangelo headed south toward the Japanese mainland with only one thought helping him to ease his guilt for running away, and that is to live to fight another day. So little did he know, another day would turn into days and months and then years of running away, foraging mushrooms and wild plants to survive. His brother Donatello told him what was poisonous and what was safe to eat. He called it sansai, the ancient practice of wild plant picking. Or maybe Michelangelo just knew what to pick and what to eat after years he spent surviving in the mountains. The constant jabbering of his dead companions was making it hard to separate past from present, reality from delusion, and whether it was crazy or he was concussed, it didn't seem like they were going to be in a hurry to go away, and as lonely as he wasn't in any hurry to let them go. So eventually he made it to the southern edge of Hokkaido. Behind him, there were 3 years of isolation, piles of dead bodies, and a psycho and his thug army most likely after his head. Ahead of Michelangelo was the Sea of Japan, and beyond that, the mainland, and beyond that, a dark reckoning. So without looking back, he just started swimming. And once he got into the mainland, he continued using the western coastline as his compass. He slept during the day and hiked at night to keep a low profile. And as long and slow trek as he still wasn't exactly sure where he was going, his brothers were just nagging him constantly like, yo man, where we going, Chucklehead? He was too tired to argue back with them. And by the time he reached the Monument of Remembrance in Akita, they finally had enough. Oh, another day of stinking pointless walking, says Raphael. There's been no sign of Deathworm or his goons since we left Hokkaido. Either we lost them or they don't care about us anymore. So if we're not running from them, then what are we doing exactly, Mike? And that pisses Mike off. We? What are we doing? We aren't doing anything, Leo. I'm getting ready to head further south as soon as the sun's all the way down. You three are dead. And Raphael's like, so what's that got to do with hiking? You're sorry about all the way down to Japan like a chicken with his head cut off. It's got everything to do with everything, Raphael. I'm here because you couldn't keep your sai in your pants when Karai ambushed us back when. And that was back in Last Ronin issue number 2. I'm here because you started a war and killed everyone I cared about. Everyone that ever mattered to me, including you stupid jerk. And Raphael gets pissed like, yeah, well maybe I did make a mistake after that ambush. And Donatello's like, man, too late for maybes, Ralph. Whatever, Don. And maybe that mistake started things rolling downhill for us, but we all knew it was coming one way or another. Us against the Foot Clan, just like Master Splinter always said. It was eventually going to be last man standing no matter what, or last mutant standing, says Leonardo. You're right, Mikey. We're dead, but you're not, and neither is. And before he can finish his sentence, Michelangelo finishes it for him. Hiroto. Yeah, he's the last of his family. He's Master Shredder's son, and you're the last of ours. You're Master Splinter's son, which means you're the only one of us left who could finish what Ralph started when he went after Karai. Hey, come on, guys. Give me a break about Karai, says Raphael. She broke the stinking truth. That's why I did what I did. And Michelangelo's like, we all know this started way before your fight with Karai, way before the truce, way before any of us were even born. This started with Father and Shredder, and it ends with Hiroto and me, says Michelangelo. So what are you saying, says Ralph. And Michelangelo's like, I'm saying I know where I'm going now. Maybe deep down I always knew.
and it's time to go to New York City to stand and fight. Now you're talking, says Raphael. Am I? Because it's getting hard to tell with all this going on. And that's a joke because Raphael still don't know if he's going crazy talking to the brothers or if it's just a figment of his imagination. But yeah, I like that joke right there. So they finally had a plan for vengeance. Vengeance for his family awaited him in New York City in the form of Oroku Hiroto. He's the current master of the Foot Clan, grandson of Master Shredder, son to Oroku Kurai. As for his brothers, it was business as usual. Talk, Ralph moaning about the long hike and all this other stuff. So yeah, but Donatello was complaining that maybe you should take the train. Leonardo was saying maybe you should go for a swim. But eventually, Michelangelo hopped southbound on a train near the Omono River. And the next stop was to Sakaminatu. And once he made it to the port city, he covertly watched as passengers boarded the cruise ferry bound for Russia via Korea. And when the time was right, he boarded it too. After nearly a year of sleeping only in the daytime, he was wide awake all night long, and he figured he'd head to the main deck to get some peace and quiet before the other passengers woke up, but he should have known better. These two goons take off his beanie, like, look at that green freak. Ooh, we should take that green freak back to our freaking boss. How many green freaks do you think are on here? And they got the death worm tattoo on their chest. And this bald guy with the ponytail tattoo is like, boss will love the gift we're gonna give him right now. Yeah, he might even give us a promotion, says the guys in the baseball cap. Now the tattoo of the drunk idiot's chest wasn't just a handy bullseye for Michelangelo, it let him know who their boss was. Death worm. So he thought he put the mess of Hokkaido behind him, but guess what? He already made plans to make a watery detour before the boat got to Korea, so there was no point in delaying the inevitable any longer. But after laying down the smackdown and stomping on some cockroaches, if you will, he wasn't about to wait around to find out if there were any more of these deathworm gooms on the ship. So much for peace, he went for a swim. Now the swim to Chiburajima Island was way harder than Michelangelo's thought. It was a miracle that he didn't drown. And he doesn't even remember the last part because he was exhausted and delirious. But he'll never forget the first thing he saw when he came to that island. The famous, infamous Master Yip that Sensei Master Splinter talked about. And because he was so delirious and exhausted, he just passes out from the swim. So Michelangelo wakes up in Master Yip's hut. Master Yip gives him some soup, Michelangelo eats, and they exchange some conversations. So Michelangelo trips out because, no offense, you're Japanese, but you're speaking Chinese to me. And Master Yip's like, yes, a Chinese man, I am that. And you are a turtle man. Clan Hamato is a wonderfully diverse, isn't it? Is it not? I will be outside when you're ready, Michelangelo, to begin your training. We've got much to do, and you need to rest and, you know, catch up and rest up before we get all trained up, all right? So Michelangelo's like, how do you know so much about me, my swim, my journey, and why I'm here? And Master Yip tells him, well, you've been in and out of consciousness for nearly 2 days, young friend, mumbling and moaning what you're doing. So that's how I learned what you called and what you seek. So finish your soup and we'll begin training. And Master Yip's like, what does one call soup for a turtle? And the dog barks. Oh, I see. Turtle soup. And Michelangelo's like, man, it wasn't just the last bad joke I heard from old Master. So what came next was no joke. After a few days of soup and rest, he finally had the strength to step out the hut and begin his training, where the old Master and his furry Chunin, the dog, were waiting to put him to work. And the first assignment is this cloth and this bucket of water. So Jido, the way of cleaning. The tradition of students clean the dojo together, it was a sign of respect and a way of giving thanks to your sensei. And it was one way to get familiar with tradition. And the turtles, his brothers, are like, yo man, when you said you're gonna wipe the Foot Clan out of existence, we didn't have no picture in mind of you wiping the floor. And Donatello has a really cool Karate Kid reference, like, yo, you missed a spot, Daniel-san. Whatever, shut up, this pisses off Michelangelo. Turns out the cleaning was just getting started. Master Yip also wanted to cleanse the habit of old habits from Michelangelo, which meant weapons weren't part of the early training. They started with the basic form of Wing Chun, which is called Si Yim Tao. As training continued, they used their moments to practice the flow, to learn how things work, practice breathing, practice task at hand. And as their training continued, Michelangelo began to question the softness of the forms. Master Yip explained that the hand-to-hand techniques they constantly practiced held many of the same benefits of Sojido, the cleaning, and He got decked in the face as a way of questioning him for that, and Michelangelo learned never to question his techniques again. Eventually, they moved to weapons training. Days turned into months. Training became routine, but never mundane. The lessons he learned daily had Michelangelo yearning for more, and he grew to understand why his father, Master Splinter, had written so highly of Master Yip in his journal, because he really was an elite sensei. Now, he even taught him a thing or two about bad puns, and they're funny puns. Like, so one of the puns Master Yip tells him was, what did the Buddha say to the hot dog vendor? Make me one with everything. So, it's a pun so bad, it's almost a dad joke mixed with TMNT style. So for more than a year and a half, he was busy but never alone, because his brothers were there doing his training as well. Even though they weren't participating in his training, they were watching him, encouraging him, and probably giving him some smack for it. And then when his training was complete, it was time for him to head west to New York City and redemption. But Master Yip threw one last curveball before Michelangelo left. And Master Yip told him, I listened to all your stories when you arrived, and I shut up when you spoke, Michelangelo, but now you need to listen to me. When your father came to train with me, he too held a burning desire for revenge against the enemies of your family. And like you, he had made it his life's purpose to see through his quest for vengeance. And even more so than your father has been victorious in this, and now the time to seek justice for those who have lost has come, I will not try to deny you of your quest, but I will present you a question before you depart, Michelangelo. Can you honorably rush to face one enemy when you fearfully retreat from another? And Michelangelo knew what he was talking about. Deathworm. Yes, Deathworm. You must confront Deathworm before you confront, he wrote to. And in his heart, he knew this. So he rode away on his boat. The words burned inside of his brain. It was more like a challenge than a question. To take down Deathworm first, then go after Hiroku. He can't pass go and collect $200 like you do with Monopoly. Deathworm must be dealt with. It was nighttime when he finally reached Donahue in South Korea. He learned some important things over the next few days. First, it was as cold as a mother, and he stuck out like a sore thumb, which meant he desperately needed new clothes. He hated stealing, but he didn't want to get spotted, and he sure as hell didn't want to freeze to death. Second, from what he could figure out from the newspaper, there's been a massive earthquake in China while he was holed up in Hokkaido, and it was a 9.6 magnitude earthquake. That is massive. The destruction took out a lot of China's nuclear facilities, turning most of the country into irradiated wasteland. The Chinese government pretty much collapsed overnight, and any control they had over their nation was lost, starting with North Korea. Unification with South Korea quickly followed. But maybe the most important thing he learned was the Deathworm's thug army had been causing all kinds of problems up and down the newly united country over the last year. According to the papers, he was last seen in the former DMZ. And the brothers are hitting the truck with them on that journey, but they're still giving him more stuff about the earthquake. So that's where he headed, Town 38. Town 38 was named after the 38th parallel, and it seems stuck in schizophrenic limbo, somewhere between its Cold War past and the unified present. It was like a well-lit slum, shiny and new, old and filthy all at once, and we see these cops beating up the civilian and taking his money, and it was going to be hard for Michelangelo to locate Deathworm because there was so much corruption going on, which meant finding Deathworm was not going to be hard. It was going to be damn near impossible. Either nobody knew where he was, or they weren't about to tell him anything. And he searched high and low for Deathworm, but nothing. He slept in alleyways and ate from dumpsters, and after weeks of failure, he had enough. Deathworm was more of a ghost than his brothers, and if he didn't get some real food in him, he was going to be a ghost too. So Michelangelo sold his warrior soul, his nunchucks, for a few bucks just to get a hot meal and a place where he could sit and think about what the hell he was going to do next. So he goes to this Korean bar, and that's where the people behind him are at. So his brothers remind him of his oath. To beat Deathworm before you go after Oroku, he wrote to, "You're honor blind, Mike." "I disagree, Leo," says Donatello. Mikey did not take an official pledge. It seemed more like Master Yip's suggestion. And then Raphael's like, "Well, I suggest you pick one of them for a beatdown, then we get to it. Start shaking some cages around here." And Michelangelo's like, "Ralph, shh, be quiet." But when Michelangelo turns around, he notices that that guy's arm is Deathworm. That was the guy he must be confronted because he knows it's in his heart, and that was the guy on the ship. So Michelangelo confronts him like, nice tattoo. Where'd you get it from? Who's Deathworm? And the guy's like, who's asking? You ain't gonna find no Deathworm around here. And Michelangelo removes his mask, and this guy knows it's you from the cruise ship. And Michelangelo takes him down. He plows him down. This brawl fight takes over. And he had to keep it quiet, but with that gunshot right there, ain't no way he's gonna keep it quiet. Now, so much for the quiet time. But he still needs his answers. Glass bottles are breaking, and if this punk doesn't want to help Michelangelo in any way or make it easy for him, then there's a hard way that Master Yip taught him that'll work just fine. So he puts him in submission. Michelangelo tells him, okay pal, either you give me some intel or I take out your eyes. Where's Deathworm? And he puts the shard right close to his eyes. Mongolia, good boy. And that's it, and he drops the smoke bomb. Grab your car, borrow an old wreck, he makes an escape, and it's time to head to Mongolia. So Leonardo's like, okay, so we're gonna head to Mongolia without a plan? And Michelangelo's like, no, but there is a plan. Find Deathworm, take him down, then go after he wrote to. You said it yourself, Leo. I took an oath with Master Yip. I'm honor bound, on his way to Mongolia to find Deathworm. And then Raphael's like, yeah, Leo, stop complaining. That dumpster diving life was too old, man. So they argue back and forth if he really took an oath or not. But one thing they all can agree on is Michelangelo's driving sucks. And that is the end of this issue. I absolutely love the journey of Michelangelo going from just a goofy guy that I still love as a Ninja Turtle to a little bit hardened but more skilled, and the trials and tribulations he went through. This is a classic in my opinion. Link in description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry.
So we begin this issue with Michelangelo in Inner Mongolia, and the time is now. His eyes are blind and he can't see, and he has all these darts and tranquilizers in his face. So the story so far, what happened is, following the loss of his family, Michelangelo attempted to find peace by retreating to the mountains of Japan, and that peace was soon interrupted when the infamous warlord called the Deathworm tore through the countryside. Michelangelo fled somewhere where he met and trained with Master Yip, a long-lost member of the Hamato clan. With a renewed sense of purpose, Michelangelo left Yip's care to seek out Deathworm, whose warpath had progressed from Japan to Korea with no signs of stopping. Now, while the second generation of Ninja Turtles continues to learn and grow under the tutelage and care of April and Casey Marie, they still have a long way to go before they're prepared for the world that awaits them. Now, there's a story that April tells Yi after Yi cuts himself because he wants to, help April out, but without consulting April. So April can't get mad at Yi for hurting herself because, the ambition was there and the initiative was there. But April tells Yi to wait for her next time. So she tells him a story how that happened. And the story is about April helping out the Turtles and Casey Jones with the Purple Dragons. Now, normally when the Turtles and Casey Jones, usually go on a mission, they're obviously well experienced and well equipped to deal with all this. So April decides when she tells this story that I've seen some scuffles before, but what she really wanted to do, she really wanted to help out. So she started spying on the Purple Dragons herself. The problem was, even if her intentions are good, she needed more training. And she got herself into some serious trouble when someone from behind grabbed her foot. Now the Turtles are like, yeah, what happened next? And Yi's like, what happened next? Well, luckily, I wasn't alone. The guys in Casey Jones showed up and bailed me out to teach me a very important lesson. And that lesson was perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with trying to do things on your own, but it's easy to get ahead of yourself sometimes when you do, especially if you rush in blindly. Whenever possible, first get the help you need and always look before you leap. And Yi's like, okay, Grammy April, I will. I promise. Now, going back to Michelangelo's story 2 years ago, that's when he lost his eyes in Inner Mongolia. That was then, and he can't see. So Michelangelo asks himself, what's happening? Why is everything so dark? Oh, but we can see you, creature. And the guy's like, prepare the ropes. And Michelangelo's like, I remember thinking that voice. Who is it and what is it? Is it Leonardo? Is it Raphael? Is it his brothers? But no.
It's off panel, he doesn't know who they are, and these voices tell him, do not struggle, we mean you no harm for now. But until we know who you are or what you are, we must proceed with caution. He gets decked in the back of the head with the end of a gun. He goes down for the count, and these people in Mongolia tie him up. And even though they told him, we mean you no harm as of right now until we know who you are, well, but they're gonna find out soon enough. So they put him in the back of the horse, in the back of the barrel, and they tell Michelangelo the Noyan awaits. And Michelangelo's like, Noyan? Yes, creature, Noyan. He's our leader. He will decide what to do with you. What to do with me? I mean, you guys are not going to hurt me, but you're bringing me all here, going through all this trouble. Michelangelo's blind. He doesn't know what's going on. So he began to fade into black when he was awake. He thought he was dreaming, or was he remembering? So now he remembers how he got here, and this is going back to issue number 2. It was the Korean bar in Town 38. He fought with some of Deathworm's thugs, and he won, and he learned where their boss was at, because the guy told him he was in Mongolia, so he needed to get there quick, and he needed to get out of Dodge and go after Deathworm. So he hijacked the car, because, you know, him and his brothers were taught how to do that, and he found a map in the glove compartment, and he got himself oriented and decided how to head northwest from Town 38, which route made the most sense. So going back to issue number 2, his brother's like, you know, Michelangelo, I don't know what's happening here, but you driving, we'll be lucky to get there. So the trip was no joyride. The further they pushed north, and the clearer it became that Koreans' reunification was a work in progress, and it's just a bad sight. The old regime might have fallen, but a shiny new reality sure didn't rise in its place. Scavengers at 3 o'clock in the morning were breaking down doors and taking off wheels and just scavenging for parts, and this is not a good look. So yeah, they weren't going to stop there to take any chances, and the only time Michelangelo stopped was to get something they really need, which was gas. So Raphael makes a remark, yo man, is it me, or is this freaking snow weird looking, man? And the snow is weird looking. So they kept moving northwest, finally crossing the border in the former North Korea, and it was scary. China was horrifying. Every town was the same. And Michelangelo read about a 9.6 magnitude earthquake that struck near Beijing, and the reports made it sound really bad, but seeing it with his own eyes, he has no words. It was just too much to get in, too much to take in, and seeing all that chemical plant blowing all that smoke in the air, Michelangelo now sees why the snow's been odd, and he couldn't get to Mongolia fast enough, so they keep driving, and they finally get there. But instead of feeling relief, Michelangelo felt burning in his eyes, probably from being exposed to all that radiation in the air, which seeped into his eye pores. And Leonardo tells Michelangelo, yo man, grab the wheel, don't even go like that, you can't go down like that. So the car swerves, and in a split second, that's how long his eyes were closed. And the problem was, he wasn't able to open them. That was it, as the car collides head on into the tree and Michelangelo flies out the window. That moment was the moment he went blind. These people tell him, well, you're fortunate enough that we're going to take you to Noyan because he sees all, and perhaps he will help you if you are worthy. And Michelangelo's like, what the hell am I doing? So Noyan tells Batu, I guess his right-hand man, to enter into the room. Noya welcomes his visitor, Michelangelo, and he asks Michelangelo, what do you call yourself? So before Michelangelo can tell him his name, Noya is like, yo man, the man asked you a question, because he's in the dark, he's blind, and Michelangelo's still trying to adapt to being blind right now. So Noyan asks him, what is it that you seek in our land, Michelangelo? I'm looking for someone. He's called Deathworm. He's a bad guy. I sworn to defeat him, and I chased him across 3 countries, and he's supposed to be in Mongolia, but somehow something's wrong and I can't see. I think I'm blind. Noya is like, it appears we have similar concerns. 2, one of them is Deathworm, and 2, yeah, you and me are blind. But even though he doesn't explicitly say it that way, he's like, yo man, please join me and I will explain to you everything. So blind Mikey found a tribe of Mongolian warriors in the middle of nowhere with a common enemy. And what were the odds? Well, that was near impossible. About as believable as a martial arts B-movie plot, as they say. So he gives him some tea. It's really warm and soothing, just like his host. And Michelangelo, even though he can't see it, he feels it. And he talks about his father, Master Splinter, always talked about how fate and destiny play a huge part in everyone's life. He even wrote about it in his journal. Michelangelo was thinking that maybe this is fate, destiny, or maybe just blind luck, and he chuckles at himself because Master Yip, who's known for his jokes and puns, he would have been proud of that joke and pun right there. So he tells him, my name is Noyan, which makes me the chief of both this Orda and Obug, which in English translate to camp and tribe. And you already became closely acquainted with my brave and loyal second, Batu. So please accept my apologies for him being harsh. He's just doing this for protection for you and for us and for me. And Michelangelo's like, yo man, no worries about it. I can't blame a guy for being too careful, right? So Noyan kind of has his moment, well, we've heard about the Emerald Beastman in green, and being that I can't see color, I want to feel you because you're uniquely formed. So being blind, he fills up Michelangelo, not in that kind of way, but just to kind of get a feel for the guy. You know what I mean. So Noya tells Michelangelo, even without my eyes, I can see that you are a noble warrior inside of you, Michelangelo. So yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So before Michelangelo does any kind of training, Batu shows Michelangelo to his tent, and he has a helper, and her name is Jarell. So Michelangelo introduces himself to Jarell. Obviously, they hit it off right off the spot. So Batu leaves and says, your training will begin later. So they eat. And because they ate the first of many meals with this new helper, Jarell, and the other members of the tribe, even though they will all become like family to him eventually, it didn't start off that way because they just weren't that sure about Michelangelo because they never seen someone like him before. And even though he can't see at this point, he felt the tension in the air. So when Batu comes up and asks, may I join you guys? Lucky for Michelangelo, Batu wasn't only a loyal soldier to his chief, he was also highly respected by his entire tribe. So when the tribe saw Batu embracing Michelangelo and helping, then they too embraced Michelangelo and became helping. So when it went down to sleep, well, it was permanent darkness at that point, even though Michelangelo's blind. Everything went dark, but it wasn't totally alone because he went from leaving one family or going to bed or taking a break from one family to another, his brothers. And his brothers like, well, this isn't something you see every day. And how can you be blind? Like, this isn't funny. So Donatello's like, maybe it's that prolonged exposure to radiation that got you blind. Yeah, you know, that's what it is. So Mike's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Good thing for him, his new friends knew exactly what to do. Little Jarell helped Michelangelo return to, you know, kind of like normalcy. So she gives him some muscle memory. She has him wash dishes. And even though he can't see, it establishes a sense of touch, enhancing his senses. And Jarell tells Michelangelo, yeah, your plate is as clean as a whistle. Batu helped Michelangelo find strength with this uniform, with his Emerald Warrior look. So when Noya and Michelangelo sit across a fire, he asks Michelangelo, how does this look? Is it a fire? I don't know, I can't see it. Well, then how do you know it's a fire? Well, I guess by the smell, the sound, and the heat. And so Noya asks him, so what would happen if you were to touch that fire? I get burned. So Noya's like, if you remember its aroma, its sultry voice, and its dangerous caress, do you not also remember its brilliant face? Yes I do, says Michelangelo. Good! I mean, there's some things that never changes. So Noyan tells you, yes, even when our eyes fail us, the things we've seen do not change. What must change, however, is how we see them with failing eyes. Our senses are like a kingdom, Michelangelo. When they are divided, we fall. But when they are united in harmony, the entire world reveals itself. So Batu charges at Michelangelo with this sword, and Michelangelo's able to defend against it. So Noya is like, not an easy task deflecting a strike from brave Batu. Tell us how you're able to do so, Michelangelo. And Mikey says, well, I heard his boots scrape over the pebbles. I felt the air change when he swung, and smelled his breakfast from today coming from his mouth when he shouted. And Jarell thought it was funny. So month by month, his senses, and he's adapting to being blind. Everything started becoming clearer to him. He's riding horses, building tents, you know, establishing himself as a contributing member to the clan. But sadly, like his other family, this new one had the same old problem, an unrelenting enemy. So Batu asked Michelangelo, what did Noyan tell you about Deathworm? So Michelangelo tells him he just said Deathworm was an old enemy of the tribe and that a lot of blood has been lost since fighting these thugs. And Batu's like, yes, our tribe was much bigger once upon a time. We were greater in numbers, but we maintained a traditional way. But Deathworm broke that peace and our numbers has since diminished. So Jarell, her mother, and her father, your helper, were killed by Deathworm's minions. He claims to be a descendant from Genghis Khan, wielding full military authority and using it as wherever and whenever he pleases. And Mikey's like, yo, is that true? He's related to Genghis Khan? True or not, he believes it. And he persuaded an army of people, you know, an army of thugs to believe it as well. So they move back and forth across the continents, reaping destruction like the Mongol hordes of old. But that's not to say we haven't inflicted damage on the enemy over the years, but we may be peaceful, but we're not toothless. And he shows them what kind of teeth he's talking about. We seize these weapons as proof of our fallen enemies. And Michelangelo's like, man, usually my brother Ralph would say guns are just babies' weapons, but he picks up these new weapons, and Mikey's like, I like to give these new weapons a try. Forget the pistols, I'm looking at these guns right here, so to speak. So from the moment Mikey held them in his hand, it was meant to be. And Mikey goes into more training with all these bottles and displays. So Jarell's like, why you cover your eyes with cloth? I guess it just feels more natural. Is it fate? Is it destiny? More blind luck? Nah, whatever it was a powerful new weapon that Michelangelo added to his arsenal, and thanks to Deathworm, he's ready to use it. So for nearly 2 years, he's been using his ears, nose, mouth, and fingers to see as second nature to him, but constantly relying on so much stimuli to function, and it can get overwhelming. So sometimes he just needed a little bit of sight. He just went to the water just to kind of take a break from one family, but underwater he was talking to another family, his brothers. During this dialogue, while they're talking about Michelangelo's new weapons and with the electromagnetic pulse and the capabilities with it, they hear gunfire, bullets, freaking bullets, and in one silent moment the peace was broken. Gerald got shot. Michelangelo emerges from the water. These thugs, Deathworm thugs, cock their gun back. Michelangelo hears it, smells the gunpowder, ducks out of dodge, cracks him down. He tastes the blood. He gets bloody with it, brutal, and just takes him down one by one. So he feels all the additional gunfire and the bullets being cocked back, or the guns being cocked back, and he knows he's surrounded. And everything went blindly bright. He just got tased, and they tased the heck out of him. After being tased, he goes down for the count, and he feels Gerald being next to him, but she's not alive and breathing and healthy like he's used to. And that is the end of this issue of TMNT, The Last Ronin, The Lost Years, issue number 3. So much pain, so much loss. With every new adaptation, with every new conquering goal, and every new adaptability with Michelangelo, it's just a new trial, a new tribulation, and just so much trauma this guy went through. I'm definitely in on this series, and I'm loving the story so far. So based from the last issue and issue number 3, we fast forward to Ukraine. It's still Michelangelo's past story, how he turned into the Last Ronin. Now he's in some kind of cage, gladiator style, with all these people witnessing, and guess what? It's killed or be killed. But how did we get there? So just to give it a little bit of breakdown, when Michelangelo's pursuit of peace was upended by the infamous warlord called Deathworm, Michelangelo picked up his weapons and embarked on a path of vengeance. So while tracking Deathworm's forces across Asia, going all these different kind of places, he was exposed to nuclear radiation, causing him to temporarily lose his sight. So with the help of a newfound family, this is going back to issue number 3, he turned his weakness into a strength and adapted to it. And just when the peace seemed like a possibility, Deathworm struck again, ripping away the hero's hope. Now, Casey Marie's turtles have grown in stature and ability, each being an accomplished fighter in their own right, but the pre-Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are still susceptible to the follies of youth. And you can see them where Odin and Moja are going up to these Sinjas and they're ready to go in. Yi is trying to hack the door, but Uno is on post, on guard in the back, and he gets impatient with the mission, so they're taking too long. He goes in, bursts open the door. We see April O'Neil tied up. That's their rescue mission, but now they're getting shot at with paintballs and they all get decked in the face. You're all dead, says Casey Marie. So they're all like, owie, owie, yeah, nice going, Uno. You're supposed to have our backs on that. And April O'Neil's like, yo, man, before you guys point all the finger pointing, you know, Moja, you're right. Uno's job was to watch the back. But what you did, you getting impatient, and if you would have stayed impatient, or so not impatient, but if you would have stayed in your position, Uno, you guys would have had a fighting chance. And Uno's like, well, it just feels like the others are going too slow, and I figure I can help them quicker and get the mission done. I'm sorry. So Casey Marie is like, listen, I know how hard it is to stay out of the action, kid, because I've been there before. Back when we were invading Roosevelt Island to fight Stockman, I saw Master Michelangelo was in trouble, so I broke out from his plan to help him out. I saved him, but he told me something I never forgot. And Michelangelo, going back to the flashback of the Last Ronin, told Casey Marie, I thought I told you to stay put. Yeah, you did. Well, terrible discipline, excellent initiative. Don't do it again, understand? But she didn't understand. Not at first, but after a while, she realized what he meant. Even though she saved him, she could have put the other resistance soldiers in danger. She was supposed to be leading and protecting them, and totally got locked up because none of them got killed for her going out of position. So Uno, you're the best fighter, but you got a whole lot to learn to be a better teammate because they're counting on you to have their backs, all right? And by not trusting them to do their jobs and not doing your jobs, you let the entire mission down and your team down, including myself. So it's like life lessons that they got to learn. And it's cool that they're learning that before they turn into the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles going forward. So the lesson is to learn to sacrifice your ego and knowing when to lead from the front and when to let others take the lead. And that's kind of a Master Splinter-ism right there. So going back to Michelangelo, how did he get himself in this cage match with this guy? I mean, it's been nearly 3 years of non-stop bloodshed inside these damn cages. All the carnage, after all the death, after surviving all that, how can he allow himself to kill his only friend, his blood brother, and the spectacular Shaka, the heroic human champion? That's the fight that Michelangelo has to do. And they have to get down because this lady is like telling him, hey, it's kill or be killed. How can he not? And Michelangelo and Shaka just look up in this cage dome and it's bright but grim and dark, and probably can't be bright and dark at the same time. I mean, the colors of the comic is crazy, but it's just crazy how it just got to that far. The way it got to that point is Michelangelo already lost so much and lost so much more he can handle. His real brothers, and he goes a flashback to Leonardo, his father, his closest friends, and his precious little sister Gerald. And now it's from issue number 3 when she helped him with his blindness and was the first to accept him when he stumbled upon that village. It's just crazy how much depth and how much loss Michelangelo had to endure. But it was too late now. He can't stop. The fight must begin. And as they run towards each other before the epic clash can begin, here we go, here we go. But now it's the story of Michelangelo's life. We have to backtrack again before we go forward, or we have to step back so we know how we got there. If we see the death of Ralph, we see the death of Leonardo, we see the death of Donnie and Master Splinter, all going back into these horrible moments in the Last Ronin, how they all lost their lives. And it's all up to Michelangelo. And then in issue number 3 of the Last Ronin, the Lost Years, Gerald passed away and got ended in front of Michelangelo, and it was just too much to see an innocent girl die like that. So even when he tried to escape the tragedies that plagued him, it was too late for Michelangelo to get away. There were always more troubles wait for him. For 9 freaking years, no matter how far he went, no matter how far he ran, there was always trouble in the mountains, in the sea, and in the wastelands. Trouble always found him as he got shocked, and at that moment when he got shocked, that's when his eyesight came back. But everything all led to this, those tattoos, the death room tattoos, a name without a face. He was relentless to find him, and it was haunting him like a ghost in the dark. That's what it was. And now that he's chained up and tied up and his dead brothers are looking at him like, man, that's a poor little girl. How did you let them get the jump on you like that? You are better than that, Michelangelo. Yeah, that's a rookie mistake, bro. And Michelangelo just cannot bear to get told the truth. That more, just shut up. Just please shut up. You see the loss in his face and just all that emotional damage on his face right there. So for a long while, all that Michelangelo had to keep him company were the sounds of the wheels turning and the engines rumbling and the darkness and all of his failures, the death in his family, reminding him of his failures, like looking at him, just, you know, it's just his conscience is just weighing a ton on him at this point. And by the time they stopped, he was hungry and thirsty, but too weak to put up another fight. So they told him to get out, and even though he didn't have any fight left in him at that point, he figured it was just a matter of time before they were just gonna kill him. And once again, like all those years ago in Hokkaido Mountains, he was ready to die. But he could have been so wrong from that. So this girl named Abigail Finn welcomes him, says, hey, I'm the boss around these training facilities, and don't let the sandy beach and the baby blue waters fool you. In here, y'all be monsters, and you look like him, so I'm gonna put you with them. But before we do that, let's get that thing cleaned up and chipped up, a little bit fed. I want to properly secure him and have him smell like roses before we commence the dirty work. And the dirty work, it's not going to be long before Michelangelo found out what she exactly meant by that dirty work. But only after being yoked. And being yoked with the microbomb. The microbomb. It was a bomb that was inserted in his carotid artery, remotely activated. So if he thinks about running or going out of pocket, guess what? Boom, Suicide Squad style. Yeah, bomb in his artery. That's pretty much it. So he gets soaked, bathed. Ugh. I mean, you could tell that just the emotional damage is just heavy on this bro. So now he goes in with the monsters. Left alone, they all look at him and they tell him new meat for the grinder. Ha! Don't look so tough. And he just goes down, curls up like a ball. And before he can just let his emotions just pour out, a bit of advice, bro. Any weakness you show now will not be forgotten in the cage. So this guy forms a bond with him. And Michelangelo feels he should have ignored him and kept his mouth shut. But nah, he ain't keeping his mouth shut. They form a bond. This guy informs him that you know, you ain't done fighting, because Michelangelo tells him, look, man, I'm done fighting. Well, if you're done fighting, says the bruh, then I suppose you're done living, because the only reason you're still breathing now is so that you can fight later. And you would not have been brought to this place if you're not a fighter, which means you have a choice. Sit there and give up, or stand up and fight. And instead, all Michelangelo could do is just get up. And this guy is like, noble choice, my brother. I'm called Shaka. So Shaka gives him the lay of the land, and he tells him that Boss Finn and her lackeys allow him to give him a proper welcome. So he fills him in. We're the humans, and those are the other people. So we kind of go into this cage fight, into this gladiator training camp, and we duke it out with each other. Well, Michelangelo's like, if you calling us the others, it's mutants is what we're called, people like me back in my home. So based on his accent, he can tell that Michelangelo is from America. So Mikey asks him, tell me more about the fighting cage. Well, it's why we're all prisoners here, all right? Forced to fight one another to the death for some kind of sport or profit. And by the way, these damn micro explosives they've tagged us with, only way out of this hellhole is by winning Boss Finn's tournament. You lose in the cage, you die. Refuse to fight in the cage, you die. And Mike's like, okay, I kind of get the lay of the land here. So they all know that, hey, what brought me here is that tattoo on that guy's forearm, Deathworm. So Shaka's like, you know of Deathworm? Oh yes, but after more than 9 years of dealing with his goons and not even getting a semblance of who this guy is, I'm starting to wonder if he actually exists. But yeah, you can say I know of him. And Shaka's like, oh, Deathworm exists, my friend. Trust me on that. But not for long if I have my way. And he explains his backstory. He was a former professional mixed martial arts expert out of South Africa, and he's been a fighter all his life. He was the favorite to be the next world champ until Deathworm's thugs kidnapped him one night after a bout in Korea. They caught him off guard after exhausting 5 hard-fought rounds inside the arena. So like you, Mikey, I was brought to a place to be berated, microchipped, and nearly drowned, and then thrown inside the fence with no idea what the hell was going on. Shaka said he immediately began looking for a way out, but then when someone tried to find that way out, well, that microchip, we know what that business was for. It's real. It's established right now that no, it will explode. Survive long enough to be freed or die trying. Wait, Mike, freed? How? So the mutants fight the mutants, that's what you call it. The humans fight the humans. We all eliminate each other, and there's a grand fight with the big prize. Human versus mutant for the grand finale. And the winner gets to go home free. And that means freedom, huh? And Mikey's like, with my freedom, I'm gonna hunt down Deathworm. So Shaka walks away and says, make the choice to fight or die a little easier, doesn't it, bruh? Easier is not the way Mikey would put it, and you know, it's a tough choice. Now you made it, friend. What if it comes down to you fighting this guy? And his dead brother's like, you made an oath, and now you have to decide if you have the heart to keep them? I mean, you're in a catch-22. You're damn if you do and damn if you don't, Mikey. So it's not as simple as that. We see Mikey going to bed, laying down to this purple bro. But guess what? For 2 years, as Boss Finn's gladiator circus traveled west, they had to travel, Mikey was just taking out his competition, and now it's weighing heavy on him. No more roommates. He's fighting his roommates, and people next to him are just going away, just like his other family too. And it's just like revisiting of the past that's just heavy on Michelangelo, man. So it was the same for Shaka. He's going after the humans, fighting them one by one in this gladiator style tournament. So their kill list is starting to grow, and as their kill list is starting to grow, they form more of a bond about, you know, Mikey tells him about his ninja family, and Shaka tells Michelangelo about his Swahili ancestry, and Swahili tells Michelangelo it's why the boss likes to dress me up in some kind of ancient African word to up the entertainment value, you know? So they talked about each other's loss and what they have in common and how their path led them to something like this. And Shaka concludes that, yeah, Mike, your loss is more personal. My loss is only a career, maybe some prize money to go with it when they stole me and brought me into this tournament. As much as I want my pound of flesh, I don't want to be the one who stops you from getting yours, bro, because I only missed out on money. You missed out on just life, man. So Shaka says, this bond that we're having, it makes having to kill you tomorrow way more complicated. And Mikey's like, I know the feeling. I hate this, Shaka. Well, you're not alone, my friend. And then Back to the Future is now. We go back to present time, and then of Michelangelo and Shaka duking it out. You know, it's killed or be killed. Shaka gets an axe. Michelangelo has to get this club and just protect himself from getting hit. And Finn's like, y'all better get those bets in quick, ladies and blokes. We got us ourselves a real Donnybrook over here. And Mikey's like, man, please, I can't handle this. I really don't want to kill you. And they're holding each other back. And even though they're holding back from one another, they know that one of them has to eventually step up to the plate and end the other, bro, even though they formed a relationship. So Shaka tells you won't have to end it. Just promise me one thing. When you get your pound of flesh, get some for me too. He takes the axe, throws it at Boss Finn. It lands on his shoulder. Blood comes out. We caught him red-handed, or more like green screen, so to speak. What the hell did you do? Shaka, why? Just making a noble choice, my friend, says Shaka. Because you know what? You deserve your revenge more than I do. And Boss Finn is like, kill the bastard! And his microchip in his artery explodes. All Michelangelo could do is just, he loses another friend in battle. Even though they had to fight to the death, he formed a relationship, giving him another incentive, another motivation to live. And this is just a brutal, sad way to go out, because Michelangelo at this point, that's just too much loss for him, and his brothers are looking at him as well like, Mikey, you got to get your revenge on Deathworm. But dude, it's just crazy how all this folded up and just materialized into Mikey's epic fight for freedom, and also his tragic story at that as well. What you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know.
So we begin this issue exactly where we left off in issue number 4. Back in Ukraine, it was then. Shaka is gone because he went against the norm. Instead of fighting Michelangelo for the championship, for the right to be free, and to seek out his vengeance, he went off the rails and threw an axe at Finn, the boss that's leading the whole fighting tournament deal. So even though he won by way of disqualification, I mean, is he really a championship? And that's what Michelangelo's going through right now. So even though the crowd feels like this is a stinking ripoff and they want their money back, well, he's pissed about that. And Michelangelo's also pissed that these guys are going to take away Shaka just like he's nothing. And the relationship that Michelangelo and Shaka built in the last issue, you just can't take that away from Michelangelo, on top of all that he's lost previously with Master Splinter and his brothers too, and Casey, and it's just a lot for this bro to bear. So he's mad that the audience is calling him like a ripoff and stinky and all this other stuff, and he's like, oh, you want your money's worth? Okay, I'll get you your money's worth. He cuts off this guy's ear, but you know what? I'll give you your money's worth, Michelangelo yells out. But he knows the rules. It's kill or be killed. And before he could go on with any more with this pandemonium, he gets shocked, tased, goes down for the count. And his dead brothers just look down at him like, Mikey, I mean, you're lucky you're not dead after losing your discipline like that. Come on, bro. And after you took all of them out like that, you just got yourself here. Oh, dude, I mean, you can't be doing all this. This was all for almost for nothing. You can't be doing it like that, Mike. So he's just taking it all in, taking the L from all over the place. Now, these words resonate with Michelangelo in a whole nother way, that they tell Michelangelo, you're closer to honoring your oath to Master Yip. Discipline, honor, luck, says Michelangelo. Oaths, you three are really something, you know that? And he just gets all enraged, just like it all comes down on him. You know, you guys are over here standing, bitching and moaning about things you don't think any of you idiots understand, but I understand. I know the truth. All that stuff you're always harping about, honor, redemption, whatever it is just an end. And there's only ever been one means to that end, one path, and that is revenge. And that's all why he's knocked out cold. So he wakes up getting tasered and shocked. Now he's in the doctor's office because what they're secretly doing low-key is trying to defuse the bombs that are working in his throat that he was, you know, that he was impaled with, or not impaled with, but planted with while he was in the tournament. That's their way of, hey, you get off the grid like your boy Shaka did, and whoever else does it, you're gonna get shocked. But Mikey doesn't see it that way initially, but after being, you know, recognizing the truth, he calms down with it and lets the doctors do his thing. So Finn, you know, tells Michelangelo, hey, you know, you're all good, you're a champ now, but our word is our word. Here's the stuff that you came traveling with before we, you know, held you captive. And all Michelangelo could do is, instead of going through the katana and the weapons that are, you know, very cherished in life to him, that he holds very dearly to him, no, he has to take out the journal and he holds it close to his face and he sheds a tear for that. So now Finn tells Parko, her henchman, to like, let's go down with it. Okay, Michelangelo, get free, get dressed. We out of here, boy. But nah, Michelangelo's like, nah, bruh. He takes out Raphael's sai, puts it against Finn's neck, and tells her, what I want is your boss, Deathworm. Take me to him.
My boss? Says Finn. She opens her eyes and just lets out a laugh. Did you hear me, lads? This guy fights a circle of death and wants to see Deathworm himself. He escapes death and he wants to go see death. And Finn's like, and the thing is, you're acting like the big man is at our beck and call, that we can call him whenever you want. Enough, says Michelangelo. Just tell me where he is or I'll kill you. Hey, says Finn. You know, I'll be a good sport here, but keep in mind, your boy Shaka sacrificed himself so he can carry out the vengeance, and he appeared martyred himself to let you go and be a hero. So it'll be a real shame for you to let that lad down by killing me, because everyone else will kill you. But seeing that you got a death wish and I'm the sporting kind, look, I'll tell you this. We've got carriers who take the money we make from these tournaments to him, and the last delivery was made is on his way to little old Italy. That's where you'll find your Deathworm, and that's where you'll find your end. So Michelangelo goes on the hunt for Deathworm to Italy. Little old Italy. They ask Finn, like, why the hell did you let that man go? We could have killed him as soon as he set you loose. And Finn's like, okay, but we have killed him, Parker. The journey I sent him on, he's as good as dead. So Michelangelo goes without looking back, without a second thought. He left Ukraine for Italy, or rather, his entire family left. Splinter, his brothers, Shaka, Fugitoid, Gerald, all follow him as like this parade of failure that's just burdened onto him. And no matter how hard he tried during his long trek, he couldn't shake his little entourage of death off of him. His failure, his parade of failure, reminding him once again. They were with him every step of the way, silently accusing him for his mess up. And his brothers kept their mouths shut for the most part, but even when they got to the yapping, he just ignored them because, hey man, y'all talk too much. I'm on a mission, y'all dead, I gotta fulfill my oath and my mission. So he was only hearing the words that mattered to him now, echoing over and over inside his head. Not any words that his father ever said, or Master Yip, or his brothers, at least none that they ever said out loud, but Boss Finn, her words. She never did hide her words behind innuendo. She said them like the truth they are, just the way it is, the only truth he's ever known since as far back as he can remember. His family's truth, his truth, kill or be killed, as he stands in front of an old Roman Colosseum ready to see Deathworm. So Leonardo tells Michelangelo, you should be very careful how you go about that place right now. That place is bound to be crawling with Deathworm's thugs. No, we just can't just waltz in like that, like, hey, what's up, bro? It's cool. Nah, Michelangelo, you can't do that, what's up, bro? It's cool kind of stuff. So they ask him, what's the plan? And Mikey's like, there you go with that we stuff again, Leo. There's only one plan, the same plan we have for the last 15 years. You three standing around running your mouths while I take care of the business. So Michelangelo knows his brothers mean well, but they're dead as doornails, which means they're no good to him right now. He's not dead and he's not a doornail, he's a ninja. And if he expects to stay alive long enough to face Deathworm, he better get busy acting like one. Throws up his grappling hook, crawls up, sees over the Colosseum. Dead or not, Leo was right. This place is roach infested. So Michelangelo remembers something Raphael says back in Kazakhstan. Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do, and this is back in issue number 4. So simple as that. It's time to fumigate some annoying bugs. Throws down the grenade bombs. Smoke rises up. They can't see the smoke. Guess what? But Michelangelo wants the smoke. He's looking for the smoke, literally and figuratively. He's going in for that ass kicking. So he slices and dices, impales, decapitates. I'm here for your boss's head, says Michelangelo. Nothing else. But if you stand in my way, I'll gladly take your heads too. Enough, says a voice off panel. Now that voice is booming, it's commanding, and it's also Mongolian. Not Mongolian barbecue, because you know we hungry like that. This is Mongolian ass whipping, and Michelangelo's like, finally, Deathworm, let's get to it. So they fight, they go intense. After all this time, after so many deaths, time to honor Michelangelo's oath. Time to end all this. Slices his ass in the back, put his ass in a kebab, and grill him up, cook him up, shoot him up, eat him. Now, he's big, he's strong. Can't let him get a hold of Michelangelo. He knows he has to keep his distance. So, to keep him at a distance, he throws Raphael's side, and it hits him right in the top of his head. And Michelangelo's like, okay, that's it? Wait, what? Nah, bruh. That's too easy. Yes, says a voice off screen. That was too easy. How many times did I tell Kayagi that charging in like a feral beast would be the end of him? Countless times. And he gets decked in the head, decked in the hand, or he tries to reach for the katana, and Michelangelo is like, no way, you're Deathworm? Yes, that's what I'm called. Ogai Kokoya in my birth tongue. And I probably butchered that name. Please forgive me on that, YouTube. Alright, I apologize if I butcher that name. I'm just kind of going with the flow with this. So Deathworm tells Michelangelo, do not be deceived by my appearance. It's a name I earned well. It's a well-earned name. Don't be looking at me like that, boy. And I know who you are. And Michelangelo's like, yo, man, what am I in for? Or rather, what you are, says Deathworm. You're one of those wasteland monsters. You escaped Boss Finn's traveling circus, did you? And Michelangelo's all bleedy and beaten at this point, like, I didn't escape. I'm champion. Says Deathworm. Champion, you say? You survived all that earned your freedom, and you chose to come here? Why would you do something so foolish? For revenge, for Shaka, for Jero, haha, for Hokkaido. Hokkaido, says Deathworm. Boy, if you don't get that Hokkaido revenge, having ass up out of here. So that was you? I do vaguely recall setting up my minions and my servants to that mountain. They claimed you're the one that was slaughtering all those people because you were the big green monster that they wanted to pursue. But now that you are here for all those events, seeking vengeance for something I barely remember, so he takes the sigh out of Homeboy's head and he tells Michelangelo some more. This is kind of ridiculous. I can't even begin to comprehend the concept of revenge for the dead, for family, for anything. What value is there in it? I consider all life as I would a grain of sand, unless it serves my purpose. It is worth nothing. And if a life is worthless, that leaves only death. And Michelangelo's at the point where he cannot see. Too much blood in his eyes. But he has to remember the lessons that he was taught by Shamangan, and I believe that was in issue number 2. Our senses are like a kingdom, Michelangelo. When they are divided, we fall. But when they are united in harmony, the entire world reveals itself to us. And so that's when the lesson kicks in. Deathworm says, I am death, throws his sigh, and senses or no sense as Michelangelo catches that sigh, utilizing the training that he's learned in issue number 2. And he's like, not so weakened as you appear. Well, as a great man once told me, said Michelangelo, don't mistake softness for weakness. Now, what were you saying about some kind of sand? So now they go into the fight, and when they fight, Michelangelo realizes something. This brother is fast, and this brother is way stronger than what he looks. And Deathworm tells him there is a long line of fools who have attempted what you hope to accomplish today. And guess what? I am here, and there are not. Ignore the chatter, Mikey. Stay focused. Remember your training. And once again, he goes back to his training. How can you master what you hold in your hands if you don't first master your hands? Well, you know, right now his hands are kind of slash and dash right now. So Deathworm tells Michelangelo, now you join him. But guess what? Using his quick reflexes and utilizing his training once again, Michelangelo deflects. Boom! Nah, but now he has to take out these weapons. Remember these? And this is a throwback to issue number 2, which I'm happy we covered these issues because it's all coming back full circle here. When Deathworm pummeled the village and left those weapons behind, now Michelangelo's coming back full circle and using those weapons as a reminder to what he did. Your boss is right, says Mikey. He is death. Anyone want to follow the leader? Nah, these guys are like, nah, Deathworm is death right now. We ain't doing it. But going back and reigniting everything again, Michelangelo notices that coat that first bro tried to rush him with, and that's that Last Ronin coat. Deathworm is dead. Now as for Master Yip, for Jero, for Shaka, it's over. But Mikey is not finished because this is a prequel to the Last Ronin. It's time to go home. No more waiting, no more stopping, no mercy, no peace. You're next. He goes back to New York City. And that's where the story eventually kicks off with New York City, and all we get from there is the origin of Odin, Yi, Moja, and Uno. Well, not the origin, but like kind of like a pass the torch, how all their names mean one. And I kind of figured that, but that is a cool way to tie it up. Now they're grown and they are the new Ninja Turtles, and that is the end for now, as this story will continue on. As far as the Last Ronin, Lost Years, issue number 5 in the entire series and all, this was a banger in my opinion, and it was definitely not a waste of ink, it was not a waste of art, and it was definitely good use of storytelling, and I'm glad I got to read this and upload this to YouTube for you guys to enjoy and share. So what you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. Also, links in description if you wish to add this comic book and or some of our other Rated Comics exclusives to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. With all that being said, thank you again for watching. Until next time.